PAB system is to promote the rapid and timely sharing of materials and sequence information on pathogens with pandemic potential. And then they have, and the WHO and Switzerland have already established a partnership. It's called the WHO BioHub system. And the purpose is to, quote, create a fast and reliable system for sharing materials that could cause epidemics or pandemics. You know, what could possibly go wrong?
Revolution of common sense.
Revolution of common sense.
A revolution of common sense.
Truth was once common sense, but today, truth is uncommon. Explore biblical truths around faith, business, and politics with Peter Demas. Uncommon sense in current times.
Hey folks, welcome to Uncommon Sense in Current Times. Today I'm with Reggie Littlejohn, who's a friend of the show. She's been here before as we've talked about different topics that have been happening in the world, specifically that was related to COVID. She is the founder and president of the Anti-Globalist International, the founder of Women's Rights Without Frontiers, the co-founder of Sovereignty Coalition. She's testified before U.S. Congress, the European Parliament, British and Irish parliaments. She's briefed officials of the White House, the U.S. Department of State. She is the leading voice warning about the dangers of global governance through organizations like the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum. But today we're going to talk about something, we might get into that a little bit, but we also want to talk about something that just recently happened that she was spearheaded to protect us from, and that was inside the big, beautiful bill that is there. So thank you so much for coming on the show again. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Peter. It's an honor and a privilege to be here.
So the big, beautiful bill obviously had a bunch of stuff in it. That's why it was so big. But there was something specific to AI that was concerning to you. Can you talk about what that was?
Yeah. So the House passed the big, beautiful bill, which was over almost 1,000 pages long. And I don't know when they got it in terms of maybe the same day they were supposed to vote on it, the day before. Anyway, people basically didn't read it, and the vote went straight down party lines, and it passed, I believe, by one vote. After it passed, we became aware that there was something that had been slipped in there by the House Commerce Committee. It was an amendment. It wasn't part of Trump's original big, beautiful bill. And this amendment said that it prohibited states from regulating AI, artificial intelligence, for 10 years. And, you know, at the rate that artificial intelligence is going, 10 years is like 100 years or 1,000 years. By the time 10 years is over, with no regulation, who knows where we would be. So,
But when you're talking about regulating AI, I mean, AI is one of those things. Define AI, because arguably Google in and of itself is a type of AI.
That's
You know,
right.
anything. So let's narrow down the definition of AI first, and then when you say wouldn't let them to regulate, why would we want them to regulate, or states to regulate AI?
Okay, so those are good questions. There's no official definition, I think, of AI. Artificial intelligence is just, you know, it's machine intelligence that makes it's artificial, and it is so broad that it's really hard to encompass it. But I'll tell you what I'm worried about. Okay, Larry Ellison is the founder of Oracle. He's one of the pillars of Stargate, which is a program that Trump launched on his first full day in office. And I watched a video of Larry Ellison it was either in September or October of 2024, so it was very close to the election, where he cast his vision for the future. So his vision for the future was, everyone will be wearing a body cam at all times. And this will put police on their best behavior, because they know that everything they say, everything they do is going to be uploaded into AI so that they will be on their best behavior. And ordinary citizens like you and I will also always be on our best behavior, because we know that everything we say and everything we do is going to be uploaded and analyzed by AI. And the recent mall shooting, I don't know which mall shooting he was referring to back in September, October of 2024, that would never have happened because AI would have detected that there was something going on, and we would have sent in drones to stop it so that we wouldn't have had this mall. Okay, so I mean, what could possibly go wrong with this picture, right, Peter? This is a recipe for 100% surveillance. Now listen to this. Larry Ellison also said, if you need to go to the bathroom, you can ask AI. It's like, okay, AI, could you please turn off for a minute? I mean, I need to go to the bathroom. And then AI will say, sure, you can go to the bathroom. However, it will not turn off. It will keep recording, because who knows what you're doing when you say you're going to the bathroom. You might be actually doing something you're not supposed to be doing. So it will continue to record, but you can't get into that recording unless you have a court order. So, I mean, do we want to regulate that, or do we want people like Larry Ellison and other tech, giants to just do whatever they want to do? The rationale behind not being behind the states not regulating AI was, we need to beat China. And, in order to do that, we can't have a patchwork of regulations that are different for every state, because that's going to really slow us down. And just let's let the federal government regulate it. Well, the federal government has been extremely lax in regulating AI. I don't know when was the last time they generated any kind of an effective measure with respect to that. So if you have no state regulation of AI, then what you're basically doing is you're giving, the big tech, you're giving big tech a free license to do whatever they want to do. And even though these things might have benefits and we might be able to trust the way that they're going to be used under the Trump administration, we have no idea who's going to be elected, in the next administration.
Right.
And they could use this to install something akin to the China social credit system, which is run by AI. And I'm happy to get into that as well.
I do, because it will tie in with other with
Yes.
another topic. But at the same time, what's interesting is when he says that, and I wrote it down. It allows us to be on our best behavior, but that assumes that there is a standard of behavior of which we are to measure what is best and what isn't best. And the problem is that behavior is not a moral code, which would be from the Bible, but it would rather be probably what they think is best. But what if there's conflicting AIs to determine what is best and not best in that particular situation? It almost sounds like, I don't know if you remember the TV show about 10, 15 years ago, A Person of Interest, where they were trying to use AI to determine and prevent murders from taking place, and there was a competing AI that happened, and it's almost coming true. What happens when you have that idea of what is best and not best?
I think that what you have correctly identified, Peter, is the fact that AI is not unbiased. People think that AI is just, computer. The computer doesn't have any bias. Nothing could be further from the truth. The AI algorithms reflect the values of the people who create them. And most of Silicon Valley is very far to the left. So you rightly identified, conservative Christian values. So especially in a different administration, not the Trump administration, anybody who stands for pro-life, or anyone who stands for the traditional family, that could be considered to be actually, threatening behavior. There was a memo that went out it was January 23rd of, I think it was 2023. So this is under the Biden administration. This memo went out from I think it was the FBI in Virginia, saying that traditional Latin mass Catholics are like potential domestic threat actors, for precisely the reason that you named, it's like they don't go along with the flow. They believe in pro-life. They believe in pro-family. They believe that there is a God that is above the government, that is above AI. And so this AI could be used to profile people on the basis of religion, on the basis of political ideology, and target conservatives. So I actually don't think that there is going to be a problem of conflicting AIs, because I think that whoever is in power is going to create the algorithms that they want, or even put it this way. So President Trump is in power right now, and he's conservative, but the people who are creating this AI are not conservative. I mean, Silicon Valley skews very far to the left. So he may be creating something that can be used against his own base without even realizing it. So listen, let me get to the victory part of this. All right. The victory part of this is that 40 governors, 40 attorneys general from 40 different states wrote a letter saying, we do not agree with a 10-year ban on the state regulation of AI. So God bless them. And that's how I found out about this issue. Okay. So God bless those 40 attorneys general who read through the big, beautiful bill and the amendments and saw this. But so then what I did is initiated. So this is as the president of Anti-Globalist International and also as the co-chair of the Sovereignty Coalition, initiated a campaign to get people to email, particularly the Senate, okay, because this was in the Senate, so it passed the House, so the bill was in the Senate. And this campaign generated over 36,400 emails to senators. Now, how many
Wow.
does that end up being in each senator's inbox? That's a lot, and very quickly over a period of just a few days. So Ted Cruz came up with an amendment, and then Senator Marsha Blackburn, had an amendment of the amendment, and it looked like it was going to pass, saving this 10-year moratorium, maybe bringing it down to 5. And then our 36,000 emails hit, and then in the meeting that they had, it's called a votorama that went overnight. I think it was from Monday night to Tuesday of last week. They ended up voting 99-1 to expunge this AI moratorium out of the big, beautiful bill, so that when it went back to the House, for them to vote on it and pass it through, it was no longer there. And I don't think that would have happened without all of those emails, without all of those people taking action and just writing to their senators to say, we disagree with this. There should not be a 10-year AI moratorium. So this is about power to the people, really.
But when you look at what people are doing, even in something like this, even the fear of this, again, this automatic, it really ties in with something that we've talked about before. And I'm going to put up a chart here to look at that you created about the World Economic Forum, where they're wanting to create digital IDs, for as means of tracking us. And if they can use the AI to determine good behavior and coordinate it with a digital ID, there's a whole lot that could be impacted here. So tell me about what the World Economic Forum is proposing for the digital IDs, because this is absolutely scary of what they're wanting to do with it.
Okay, so actually, I didn't create this chart.
Okay.
This chart is from the World Economic Forum website.
Oh, wow.
They created this chart. Okay,
So they're proud of this.
I mean, yeah. Okay. So this is the way that they spin it. It's like, if we have these interoperable international digital IDs, it'll be so much easier for you to do all of these things that I'm going to name. Okay. Well, what it also means is that if you require a digital ID, which they are doing, and I want to get into that, this has to do with the World Health Organization, you're not going to be able to do these things. Why don't we just go back to the World Health Organization for a minute? So the World Health Organization I mean, and I can get into the current status of where they are and everything, but the international health regulations um, have several sections on them about IDs, and so the concern is digital IDs. And Tedros Ghebreyesus, the head of the World Health Organization, has started. I mean, like in June 2023, announced the rollout of international interoperable digital IDs. And what they're saying is we need these to protect your health. Okay, it's always for your protection. What I believe is that they are creating the infrastructure for this digital ID that is proposed by the World Economic Forum, and that's where that chart comes in. This is the World Economic Forum chart on what these digital IDs are going to be required to do. So they are going to be required to access healthcare. So if you don't have, a digital ID, you're not going to be able to go to the doctor or get your prescriptions. Okay, to open a bank account, no digital ID, no bank account. Wow. To buy or sell online. So we know that language, buy or sell. Okay, that's straight out of Revelation. So to own a communications device, like for example, a cell phone or a laptop, to pay your taxes. So what's going to happen if you don't have a digital ID and you don't pay your taxes? What's the government going to do to you? All right. To vote, to travel. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, no, this is terrible, and and this digital ID, you're saying that they're tying it in with your health, or with healthcare to ensure. And I'm assuming this goes back to COVID of if you're not vaccinated, then it would show up there, and then it can restrict you from doing certain things. Am I correct in that?
That's exactly right. I mean, so the way they spin it is it'll be so much easier for you to do these things with the digital ID. And what they don't say is if you don't have a digital ID, or if you if you have done something they don't like let's say refusing to be vaccinated, refusing to get the most recent booster, you're not going to be able to do all these things. And that's where the China social credit system comes in.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because this is kind of again ties in with that fear that you're talking about with the states regulating AI and what is best behavior. So if I don't act appropriately, if I happen to if it's tracking me and I say something that I think is funny but they deem it as politically incorrect and I lose points on this, and then it ties in my digital ID, which could impact any of these things. Now, I'm getting to sound like a massive conspiracy theorist, but you're saying this already kind of works already now in China. So talk about that system.
Oh, it absolutely works in China. And if people think that this is a conspiracy theory, I mean, they already did it in Canada. You'll remember the Canadian truckers and the
Yes.
they had a protest against vaccine mandates, and the Canadian government, in collusion with the Canadian banks, shut them off from their credit cards and their bank accounts. So that's a completely paralyzing thing to do. So, if people think that this is some kind of a conspiracy theory, no, this has already happened in North America. It happened in Canada. So what they're doing is they're building out the technology to have a China-style social credit system worldwide. So in China, what they have is, and this is all run through AI. This is how it ties into AI. In China, they have surveillance cameras, everywhere. And then also, they track everything on your phone, and all that data is being fed up into AI. So they've got facial recognition, real-time geolocation, so they know what you look like, they know where you are, they know where you work, they know where you live, they know who your friends are because they know who you're talking to and who you're texting. And also when you meet with a friend, your phones are close to each other, and you see you walking down the street together, sitting, in a restaurant together. They know who your friends are, they know who your family is. They are tracking all of your social media posts. And if you post something on social media that they don't like, like if you criticize the President Xi Jinping, or if you criticize the vaccine or whatever it is, they will, ding you on your social credit score, all your internet search history. So they have things in China that you're not allowed to search for. Like if you search for Tiananmen Square massacre, which the Chinese government officially denies, your score will go down. Or if you start looking into the history between China and Tibet, or Taiwan as a free country, your score is going to go down immediately. Um, and okay, they're tracking your medical history, they're tracking your criminal history, and they track everything like what you buy online. For example, if you buy something that they think is nice, that shows being a responsible person, like diapers for a baby, your score will go up. If you spend time gaming online, your score will go down because that's what a lazy and irresponsible person does, right? So they're and let's not forget, they have something called Xi Jinping thought. Xi Jinping thought.
Okay.
Okay, so Xi Jinping thought is every night you go on line and listen to Xi Jinping or read about his thoughts, and then you answer questions about, what his thoughts are. Okay, so this is like a brainwashing program, and if you do it, your score goes up, and if you don't do it, you can actually get in trouble at your job. Like you come in the next morning, and your boss says, "I noticed that you missed your Xi Jinping thought last night," and your score will go down. All right. So, so they're so trapped. And so the algorithms, the AI generated algorithms, they pull all this together to assign you a score. And if you have a high score, in other words, if you are a compliant Chinese communist doormat, right, you will have a high score, and you can live what looks like a free life, but it will, if you're trapped, because if you do anything wrong, they will lower you. And then if you do step out of line, they will do things like you can lose your job, you will not be able to borrow money, so you won't be able to buy a home or start a business. You won't be able to travel. If you keep it up, they will sever you from your credit cards and your bank accounts. And if you are a true dissident, then they will just disappear you, meaning you will never be seen again. One day, you're just not there anymore.
I was going to ask, how do they do this? Because China, there's so much in China that's an agrarian society. China is so massive. To be able to define what's going on in these small provinces that basically farm rice. How are they able to do that in these little small towns across this massive landmass that they have?
Well, I think that the enforcement of it is not uniform. I think that it's probably better enforced in places like Shanghai and Beijing, where they have so many surveillance cameras. I don't think that they have a surveillance camera on every rice paddy out in the countryside, but China is more and more moving into the cities, so that a very large portion of their population is under this kind of a regime.
Obviously we're seeing with the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, for most people listening out there, they don't see that there's an impact on what they do on their lives. So, okay, they have this, but you know what? The U.S. has a constitution that can protect us from this. Or they might think, you know what? I don't vote for them. It doesn't have any impact on my life. So why does this matter to the clerk at a local retail store or an insurance agent? Why does this matter at all to anybody who's listening to this?
Okay, so there's a couple of things here, which is that Trump has initiated the process of withdrawing us from the World Health Organization. So that is the big thing where he's, Trump has withdrawn us, so this is not going to impact me. With respect to the Constitution, okay, the Constitution is a very powerful tool, but you have to use it. It's like a
Right.
sword. It's like a sword, like a very beautiful, sharp sword that in the hands of a skilled swordsman or swordswoman would absolutely protect you. But if you leave it on the wall and just admire it, it's not going to protect you. And it's the same thing with the Constitution. If you say, "Oh, look, I've got a copy of the Constitution printed on my wall in my family room, and I look at it and admire it every day," that's not going to protect you. You need to know what it says, and you need to wield it, so it's a tool to protect us, not something that is going to, it won't protect us by ourselves. We have to use it to protect ourselves. So that's number one. And then number two, the fact that Trump withdrew us from the World Health Organization is a great thing, but Number one, he did it by executive order, which means that the next president that comes in could put us back in by executive order. So I would urge everybody to go to antiglobalist.net. That's antiglobalist.net. And there's a button to the upper right hand of the home page is called Take Action. You go in there and you can take action to contact your congressional representatives to say we need legislation to keep us out of the World Health Organization.
And there's the Sign the Manifesto, which I've done. Actually, last time we talked, I went and did it immediately afterward. I think it's extremely important that all do. And yes, I see that here, and it's something I think all needs to take place and sign as well.
So what that does, when you sign the manifesto, that puts you on my newsletter list, and you will be notified when you need to take action, when we need to take action to preserve our freedom. I don't know how many minutes we have left, because I was about to talk about one of the reasons that we need to be concerned about the World Health Organization, even though Trump has withdrawn us from it. How many more minutes do we have left?
I don't know how many minutes we have on it, but let's go ahead and talk about it anyway, because if we go a little over, we're perfectly fine. And so we'll go ahead and talk about that, because I think it's important. Because I was telling you before the show, my wife, when I was telling her, interviewing you the last time, she vaguely is aware of the World Health Organization, but isn't aware of the dangers involving in it. And she's not uneducated. She's educated. She watches the news every day. So it's not like, and she's opinionated. So it's not like it's somebody who just kind of lives her life just every day is a new day. She's actually tries to be well informed, and she was unaware of these issues as well. So yes, please tell us about that, because I think it's important for people to know that.
Well, watching the news is not going to make you informed. Watching the mainstream media is not going to make you informed of this, because a very large majority, or a large portion of the support for the mainstream media comes from advertisements from Big Pharma. And Big Pharma is deeply in bed with the World Health Organization. So they're not going to be they're not going to be talking about criticisms of the World Health Organization in the mainstream media. So, people who think that they can keep informed by just watching the mainstream media are not going to get this information. So let me tell you something about the new pandemic treaty that passed the World Health Assembly in the end of May of 2025, very recently. There's something in there called the Pathogen Access and Benefit Sharing System, the PABS system, Pathogen Access and Benefit Sharing System, which is going to affect everyone in the world, regardless of whether we are in the World Health Organization or not. So what this is it is a system to share pathogens. All right, I can just read to you what they say. Okay, this is from the pandemic treaty. PAB system is to promote the rapid and timely sharing of materials and sequence information on pathogens with pandemic potential. And then they have, and the WHO and Switzerland have already established a partnership. It's called the WHO BioHub system. And the purpose is to, quote, create a fast and reliable system for sharing materials that could cause epidemics or pandemics. What could possibly go wrong? So what this system is if a country, what it does is it actually encourages countries to go into their jungle or whatever they have and find a pathogen with pandemic potential. I mean, to me, it's like, leave it in the jungle, okay? We don't want this. Quarantine it. If you find it, quarantine it. But no, that's not what the WHO wants. The WHO wants you to send it to them. And what they will do then is send it to labs all over the world with the idea in mind that they will create a vaccine against it if a pandemic ever comes out of that. Well, what that does is it greatly increases the chances of a pandemic coming out of it.
Right.
Just like the main theory now about COVID is that it was a lab leak. Sending these deadly pathogens all over to labs all over the world is going to greatly increase lab leaks. And also it's going to increase the chances of, these pathogens falling in the hands of terrorists.
Right.
So So this is something that's going to affect everyone, including the United States, including Argentina, who's also withdrawn. Regardless of whether we are in the WHO, these things are going to affect us because pathogens don't know any borders. So, so the pathogen access and benefit sharing system of the new pandemic treaty, they have an annex that they are negotiating an annex regarding the details of how this is going to work, and that has not been passed yet. So they can't actually vote on the treaty until the annex has been voted upon. That will probably be at the World Health Assembly next year. So that gives us time to inform the world about the danger of this and to try to stop it. So,
I mean, and to your point, Iran is a member of the World Health Organization. So, what would prevent the World Health Organization from sharing those pathogens with a nation like Iran? And there's others out there, but Iran obviously is the most topical because of the news right now about them. So, we share it with them, who happens to share it with Hezbollah, Hamas.
exactly.
I mean, there's nothing that's preventing them from doing it. So you're absolutely correct. Whether we're in it or not doesn't mean that we can't feel the effects of it or the impact of it from somebody like them in that situation. What do you think outside of notifying people of this? Because what do you think? Why do they want to? Why would the World Health Organization, that does not listen to the people, that's not elected, that's part of, it's independent but still part of the United Nations, that doesn't really care really much about us at all? Like, why would they ever listen? Why wouldn't they just follow the money and deal with the companies that want to produce vaccines, because vaccines are a lot more profitable?
They won't listen. They won't listen, and they will follow the companies that produce the vaccines. And one of the big problems with the World Health Organization is their conflict of interest, that they have been have very large portions of their fundings that are connected to like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Gavi, very heavily organizations that stand to receive a very large profit margin if the World Health Organization were to suggest mandated vaccines. Like, for example, there's a clip of Bill Gates. He's being interviewed at the World Economic Forum several years ago, and he says that that their organization, the so-called nonprofit, put up $10 billion for the advancement of mRNA COVID vaccines, or maybe it was just vaccines in general. But he said that they had a 20-to-1 return on investment. 20-to-1 in return on investment. So in what world is the World Health Organization, unbiased when they are funded by people who will profit hugely from vaccines, and yet they're supposed to be giving an unbiased opinion about whether or not people should be vaccinated? That's a huge conflict of interest. So that's why I think that I would like to see the entire world, withdraw from the World Health Organization. So that's one of the goals of Anti-Globalist International. We just need to withdraw and establish another organization of free countries that will collaborate to address health issues in the world, not filtered through the irredeemably corrupt World Health Organization. And on that, I'm going to have to scoot.
Well, no, I do appreciate it, and I appreciate you coming back on to talk about it. So for everybody else, go to antiglobalist.net, sign the manifesto, find out about, get notified of what's going on, because again, our ignorance does not mean that we won't feel the impact of it. So Reggie, thank you so much for being on the show, and I greatly appreciate you being on here and being a friend of the show.
Thank you so very much for having me.